Most likely people use electrical tape here, which is not bad at all. Overall, this didn't leave like a lot of debris. I'm happy with that. Even if that left little tiny pieces here and there, not a big deal. The wrap was usually going to cover over it. It's like they use quite a bit of electrical tape. They wrapped consistently just to cover our housing. A little overdone. I mean, we just need one in the corner, maybe one over here, and that's it. But we don't have to touch this. Here's a little chunk. Yeah, that came right off. Most little chunks you're not going to feel. So you clean it as deep as you think you need to. And then make sure that your housing, whether you have double brake and derailleur, make sure it's just out of the way, either in front of the bar or just underneath it. Some bars have a little indentation where the cables can ride or run. Hand's going to be here if you're sitting up at the top here. We just don't want any cable sitting on top. That's going to be super uncomfortable. If it's sitting in front, not a huge deal, but maybe just underneath. And then when you're grabbing over here, again, cable out of the way. And then of course down here we're not getting any cables, any housing in the way. So usually we've got the bar tape. It may give you a small piece about that long, which you can use right in this area here. And that's just for cosmetics, so we're not seeing a little bit of the bar when we do our little figure 8 cross there. This one, I don't see the piece. If you don't have that piece, then they may have given you this long enough where you can cut a section, but don't quote me on that, because if you do it and it's too short, then that would be a problem. And then what did they give me over here? They actually gave me some Fizik tape. This is like similar to the electrical tape we're using. Sometimes this stuff works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't relax and comply to over the wrap that we need. But most of these have backings. You're going to peel a strip away. I'm just going to let this drop and hit the floor. Keep in mind, if your floor is dirty, it's going to pick up a lot of debris and stuff like that. Your cap is in here as well. Should be 1 cap per roll. But I'm going to let this just drop, and then I'm going to peel back, I don't know, about 12 inches or so, whatever room you need. That's about it right there. Little sticky adhesive, try not to get your fingers on it. Some of this stuff is forgiving. If you got a wrap and you have to backtrack and pull out, it should not get stuck. But you never know. You'll know once you start working with that product. So I'm going to divide this in half. If this is about 1.25 inches in width, I'm going to divide in half right in the center of that black line. I'm going to have half hang off the edge of the bar here. And I'm going to do one full 360 circle. We're going to have half of the material hanging off. So you want to tilt this in your stand so it's a good height for you. Find that spot. A lot of times I'll use my leg to kind of block the wheel so the handlebars won't continue to flail around. So you can kind of block it as needed. And just coming over here, starting with half hanging off, boom. And let's see, I kind of fluctuate back and forth whether you have this starting at your 12 o'clock or you're at the very bottom. So we're going to go 12 and then we're going to see what we get. So I'm going to do a full 360. This is divided completely in half, 50 hanging off, 50%. Just one full 360. Now, never let go of this. Every time you do a swipe and around, something's always holding, keeping that tension, never releasing. Now I'm going to start going into my turn a bit. So I just started this wrap probably in the opposite direction from what we're used to seeing. Naturally, they're going to say most people, their wrist starts to twist going outward if you're here on the drop. So that means your wrap should go this direction. So then as your wrist goes outward, it's going to tighten the wrap rather than unloosen the wrap, or loosen the wrap, excuse me. And then, so just for some reference, I've done this in the past where I've gone opposite direction and I've had pretty good luck. And these are on my own bikes as well. This is riding very often, putting several miles on it, doing some racing, cyclocross racing. I haven't had any issues of my wrap getting undone. I haven't had any, kind of split and open where you're seeing the bar. So on the plus side, as long as you're wrapping nice and tight and getting even overlap, this wrap is going to stay in place. So from start, the end of the drop bar, going around, do your figure 8. even coming up here, if you got this in the incorrect direction, most of the time our hand is doing this as we're riding, we're twisting back, so then you're wrapping in this direction. So then we're tightening the wrap as our hand is doing that. But this is probably backwards as well when I've done it in the past. So wrap probably went this way when my hand is naturally doing this. And somebody might have a different experience where their wrist is doing something different than everyone else, which is fine. But as long as you have a nice tight wrap, you're not gonna have an issue. Got the end cap over here, we're putting a piece of tape. You'll be fine. But I'm gonna unwrap this, I'm gonna do it the right way, and I'll end up right here again. All right, see if I can continue this without getting in the camera shot. So I'm using a spanner wrench. This is the Park Tool SPA-2. Come in different sizes. It just means the tips here are different diameter, but it's great for putting this down there when you gotta walk away. Now I'm starting to get into the curvature here, so I may have to do more overlap. So if I'm doing about a quarter overlap, I might turn into a third, or just under a half on the curves. It's just kind of unavoidable, and it's really not that noticeable. But we just want to keep from unraveling because it may not cover. But again, always look underneath, get eyeballs underneath. All right, so we're getting close to that so-called figure 8, as they say. So it's hard to see right here, but as we go into the curve, this one right here is starting to kind of not curl up, but it's definitely not making full contact with the handlebar, which is okay. We're just going to overlap it a little bit more, like I said. Don't be shy there. And just continue. You might see some wrinkle happening over here. You can kind of fold that wrinkle so it stays underneath. So if you're worried about a little bulge, which you probably may not even notice, but keep that bulge on the bottom. And that's due to the material being, fairly stiff. It's not as soft and spongy and pliable. But yeah, it's getting ugly. So I'm gonna come back again. So what I'm gonna do is, getting a curl on this right side, I'm gonna pull tight finger on this right side opposed to this left side. So as I'm coming down, I got about roughly 2 inches here. I'm gonna pull on this side here, so I pull tight. Still get my overlap, but I'm making sure this side is kind of conforming down the best that it can. And then just bring that up. And I'm stopping like every, third area, pulling tight, or half area, I'm not really counting. And then here I can always re-steer too, so I can go back, pull, stretch, I can steer left or right if I need to. I can use this finger as well to apply more tension on this side, so that gets a little flatter down to the bar. And then this finger's following, always holding pressure. And then I'm gonna change finger to my middle finger and then to my left hand, always keeping that tension. Then I'm using my body here to hold this handlebar from moving around as I pull more tension. And I got about 2 or 3 inches, pull tight, come up, over. Those are just small techniques that will take time. And then pull tight here. So I'm going into this turn, pull tight, make sure we get good overlap. Get eyeballs over on this side, definitely curling, but I'm gonna cover it. And I'm gonna pause there. So just show you what I'm talking about. Here's this is almost underneath. This is our little, I wouldn't say it's not really curling up, but it's not relaxing and laying tight. So here we're tight, making good contact with the bar. And then right about here, I could stick my screwdriver in there. So this happens a little more naturally when you have a stiffer bar material. But so when I come around, sometimes this wants to kind of move on me. Like this will kind of migrate something like this, maybe create a wrinkle. So if I can, I'll try to push it, keep the wrinkle underneath the bar, just so it won't look as visible coming through. But again, this is a spot where nobody's really going to be looking, unless you point it out. Only you're going to know. As long as we have good overlap, whatever bulge may be there is not going to be very noticeable whatsoever. But if you're looking for perfection, like the way I speak, you either keep trying or go to a different bar material, or maybe you're going to have way better luck than I. Okay, I'm going to hold right there. I'm going to put this directly Right around here, there's the clamp band that goes around. So I'm gonna go right where it meets the rubber of the boot of the head. Actually, this one fits very nicely. And then I don't put this on until I'm ready because the adhesive doesn't hold it all the time. So I gotta work a little quickly here. So I'm gonna come back around, come through one more time. Get you a good overlap. Yeah, it's already unsticking over here. Come up. Actually, another time. Now I'm going to come up and over, continue wrapping around the bar. Pull tight on all these corners here, and then just continue overlap, wrapping around the bar. And this direction is correct because we're coming this way. Hands doing this, you're automatically tightening the bar tape. So direction is good. And we'll soon be out of this curve. Pull tight. This stuff's pretty tough. I have to see what the material is. Definitely not a foam, not a cork. That stuff is stretchy and more forms better. That potentially could tear if you're a little rough with it. This stuff I'd have to almost, I can't even tear this if I wanted to really. Whoa, let's pull nice and tight. As soon as you pull tight, you see the edges kind of lock down onto the bar. That's what we want. And it may only be one side when you're in a turn. Here's where we could have some definitely unraveling, so you want to have a good coverage there. Just double check, get eyeballs underneath. So I'm pulling a little tighter on this right side because that's laying down. That's what we're going to see. This is the visible side. I want that to lay nice and flat. Hold tension. Back around. And just judging what we have here lengthwise, we should be fine because we're going to end somewhere right about here. We're just ending right where the form of the barge starts to change. And keep in mind, you can even stop shorter if you want, just depending where your hands are going to be, how many things you're going to be clamping, lights, computers, things like that. So that's totally your call. So I'm going to go back. A little hard to see from this angle, but right about here, I got like a little bit of a wrinkle, so it's kind of coming up. I'll give you a different view. We actually got some logo here too. Can we see that? Yeah, there's some logo that got over taped. So Richie maybe even started here. So this is where I would normally do. I would leave the logo. That would be my marker. They actually went overdid it here. So I'm going to back up. So right back here is where the housing is. There's a little bit of a gap, so I can get my blade in here. I can cut through without hitting the bar. There we go. There we go. There's our logo. It's taboo, man. Can't be covering logos. Manufacturers would be turning over in their grave if they were dead. So right about there. We'll clean that up later, but this is gonna be my stopping point right there. So that's a lot of real estate they took up, unless your hands go there. That's totally your call. Continue. So that'll work out perfect. So right there, logo here. There'll still be a little bit of gap there. Once this is finished, this is going to overlap, and then I'm going to have my bar tape to lock this in. And then we're just going to meet that R. We don't want to cover that R. At this point, have your scissors ready to go. Have your tape. I'm going to go ahead and use regular bar tape, but have that within arm's reach. Pull your tape back too, so you're not fighting with that. Have that open and ready to go. I'm just going to stick it right here on the bar. So angle-wise, my tape is going just angling to my left. That's how it's going to continue. So I'm going to make an imaginary line, a straight line. So right here at my Ritchie, if I'm staring at the front of the bar, front of the bike, straight line. Let's see. So that's going that way. I'm going to be running this diagonal right here. I'm going to do a very elongated cut right there. So go extra long. Kind of very, what's the word? Not a sharp, not a abrupt, but a very elongated. Boom, catch that. The smoother the better. I'm going to try and clean that up a little bit. Just kind of where it just fades away. Back to overlap. There we go. So we have that real straight line right there. And then I'm going to use my tape. I'm going to get on top of this bar tape, maybe about a quarter to a third, go in the same direction. So I'm going to, and if you want to, we'll call this the seam, the beginning of the tape. You could, it may not even show up, but I'm going to start down here. Don't cover the logo. And then you want a straight line. My line's definitely crooked there. A lot of this stuff comes down to cosmetic, finished product, you know, like if you were a seamstress or something. Actually, I'm going to start in the middle. So straight line. And try not to stretch your tape, whether you're using electrical tape or the tape they provided. I'm going to pull it firm, but I don't want to put a stretch into it because over time this will want to shrink and it will start to shrink up in the sun. And that's when you start to see these things come off, and then you're left with this funky residue, and the tape is trying to come off as well. So here's where I want this to lay down flat on the bar tape, as well as the bar itself. So right there I got a little wrinkle. So I'm just trying to do a perfect line. I don't want to see any seam coming off the side. I don't want to see, and again, purely cosmetic, purely visual. So I got a straight line here. I want to put this down. Yeah, here's where these little curls want to come back and haunt you. So I'm going to go a little bit wider now. Try to get this curl right here. But here's where you can take your time. You can be as meticulous as you want here. But usually we're trying to go for a real pretty look. Because you know when you show up to that next bike ride, nobody is going to give a damn what your bar tape looks like. And I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut at the bottom. I want the seam of the tape to be ending at the bottom of the bar. And if we were like perfect seamstress and all that good stuff, those things count. So trying to make it look as clean as possible. But we are done. That's it. This should not go anywhere. So over here, if this was a little long, we can always trim this, or if the other side was long, you can trim that. But this is just going to tuck right in there. Our rubber booty is going to go right over it, or a rubber hood. Bam. So then we look at the side. You know, our little opening triangle, we're not showing the bar. I pull this back. All this is taken care of, purely visual. If I didn't put that little 4-inch strip there, we'd probably see that little triangle opening, just the tip of the triangle right there. Again, nobody's gonna know. So I'm gonna keep this butted against my chest here, keep this from moving around, and then basically push, 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 trying to do all 4 sides like we're folding in a piece of paper, flour, something like that. And then the logo, if you're worried about it, get your logo lined up side to side or whatever. Keep my finger on that troubled area. And then start back with that edge. And whew. Yeah, a little bit better. But yeah. So if there's a little technique there, something you know that you can do better, let me know. Totally interested in that. I'm gonna try and trim this. Usually I don't because I never have to. It never looks like this. But I imagine if I trim this a little bit, main thing is we don't want it to start to come unraveled. I don't think that's gonna be the case. Just watch your fingers. That's just gonna be a troubled area. I can probably go back and push that back in.